see you, sir. And we're rolling. And commence your presentation.
Okay, I will give my best.
And welcome to Harald.
As you heard, I'm coming from Germany. And I did science half of my life, and I worked as a journalist the other half of my life, writing articles, books for about 1.5 years in film business. So I saw a little bit of the world and many, many different topics. So I'm a little bit trained in interconnecting and understanding more complicated fields of research. This is maybe my core quality. And I started to deal with environmental monitoring when I was in Norway. Actually, I was working in Norway in the field of electrosensitivity for a company supplying measuring material like this one and shielding materials and giving courses for the people to understand what is happening if somebody becomes electrosensitive. And when I was there, I kind of was asked to look at chemical analysis of dying plants and the rainwater that caused the plant death and soil samples, because the farmers realized they're losing parts of their harvest that year. It was 2012, but they didn't know why. So they went to the labs, and then they had the lab results and they couldn't read it. They saw values, but they didn't even know what should have been on these papers. So they addressed me as a little bit crazy scientist from Germany and asked for help. And since then, I'm working on this chemtrail topic. And I think we looked through it now. It took quite a while to understand the different, let's say, the different agendas behind it, because it is not a single agenda. It's not a single group that has interests and is doing something to get what they want. It is a kind of onion-like structure of different groups who have different interests, and the longer you research on the topic, the more layers you discover. So what I'm trying to do today is kind of to dive through this onion-like structure and to try to give you a picture of those different agendas behind chemtrailing. There are two things I'm not going to do, and where I really would ask everybody who is discussing the topic, don't stare into the sky and try to figure out whether the thing you see is a chemtrail or a contrail. It leads to nothing. It's a fruitless discussion, and we cannot solve this from down here. You cannot grab the stuff up there, you cannot make a chemical analysis. Just staring at it is hopeless. And the other thing that took me about 1 year, one lost year, is to deal with chemical analysis. This has one reason. If you make chemical analysis, you take a substance and dilute it in acids, and then whatever is dissolved by the acid can be analyzed, and what you get is metal values. You don't have a clue, if you did that, about the chemistry you analyzed or the crystal structure you analyzed, because everything that is dissolved, is gone, and all you have is the metal. This is one problem. You don't really see what you have. And the other problem is that not everything is soluble in acids. And actually the entire core technologies that we could discover later, if you check them in the lab, they are all completely resistant to acids. So there's no chance to get the real McCoy by chemical analysis. So those are two things I'm going to completely skip, also out of time reasons. I want to enter the entire picture from a different angle for today. And this is if we have somebody who is doing things in secret. It's not published in the newspapers, he will not talk about it in public. Then you have the other side of the game, that somebody is trying to figure out what is happening. And then there comes this ugly word, conspiracy theory, and one feels isolated.
Could you stand closer to the podium, because it's better lit that way for people.
Here, okay.
Thank you.
No, I dropped it. If you're confronted with this thing that you might be a conspiracy theorist, then this is something emotional. Nobody wants to stand outside society. Nobody wants to be the weird guy. So this is basically an ugly argument that is used to make people shut up. So this can be fought with a few very, very not rational, just clever moves. We want to talk about chemtrails. So the first question that comes up to my mind is, where does this word come from? And this is a question that is beyond theory, because you can find out where the word comes from. And it comes from soldiers of the US Army, mostly US Air Force, who brought this word into the English language because they were sitting at the US Air Force Academy, attending classes of the chemical faculty, and one of the classes is the Chemtrail class. This is kind of, when you study at this university, the class where you learn how to make chemtrails. Yeah. This doesn't touch the question, do chemtrails exist up in the sky or not? The only thing we can answer by looking at this chemtrail class is we can see this is a military technology. We don't know if it is applied or not, but we can study the technology because it's taught at the university. And this manuscript is a little bit hard to read. It's like 260 pages, roundabout that. And basically it's examination questionnaires. So there's not a single answer in it, but there are thousands of questions. And when you take this manuscript and answer all the questions from these examinations, then you gather the knowledge. And from this knowledge, like with a jigsaw puzzle, you can back engineer what chemtrailing is. And basically the topics they are dealing with is aluminum coating of plastic surfaces is a big issue. And the synthesis of nylon fibers especially. This is one part of this chemtrail class. And if you want to know what this is good for, there's one military application called spoofer sprays. These are aluminum-coated nylon fibers, and they use it to hide planes from radar detection. This is not a big secret. It is officially admitted by state authorities that at certain NATO maneuvers in the sky, they use these spoofer sprays to train to hide airplanes. So this is one part that is described in this manuscript. The other half is a little bit more difficult to read and to analyze. It very, very much looks like that they are talking about spray pyrolysis, which is the production of crystalline nanoparticles in a combustion process. This is something that is done in industry when you want to produce certain types of nanoparticles. It is a very cheap and very efficient way to produce nanoparticles. And there are two ways in industry and in this manuscript. One possibility is you take like metal salts that you can solute in water, and then you take this water and run it through a ultrasound nozzle that is kind of turning it into millions of very, very small droplets. And these droplets are brought into a flame. And then the water evaporates, and the salt content of the little droplet forms a small dust particle. And if the flame is hot enough, it will eventually melt and recrystallize. And depending on the temperature and on the droplet sizes, you can create crystalline particles, you can create amorphous particles. This is one possibility that is within the range of spray pyrolysis. The other possibility is not to use water, but to directly use combustible liquids like methane or whatever. I think methane is within the US military the first choice. And then you don't even need a secondary ultrasound nozzle. You can use the ultrasound nozzles that create the vapor that is burned within a jet engine. So this is basically the chemical and technical knowledge that is taught in the chemtrail class. So we get a first idea what this technology is about. We still don't know if it is used regularly, if it is used sometimes, if this is something that is meant for wartime and in peacetime nobody even touches these technologies. We just learned something about the technology. Now, when you see how successful this way of looking at things is, you know, we answered many questions where other people were searching, talking, discussing years and years and came to no fruitful conclusions. There's something that is very, very intelligent. If you have somebody that might have plans he doesn't want you to know, it is a very good thing to go to the places where these people are alone among each other and talk about what they do. Yeah? Then you can listen and understand what they plan. Actually, there's no other way to find out what's happening. So I started to get interested in internal papers of certain agencies. And there was one stupid mistake done by some network specialists in NASA. They published an internal paper, I think it's like 12, 15 years ago, that was classified, and it appeared for 2 days in the public domain of the main NASA website. And some people just by incident found it and copied the paper. And since then, actually this is public domain. It's brought out every now and then. It's discussed by people every now and then. It's not like a text that is giving a full description of what they are doing. Basically, it's just a PowerPoint that is displaying certain core terminologies. This is the paper in the original form, and the title is a little bit funny. It's Future Strategic Issues for Future Warfare. And they project this on the year 2025, as if they talk about future technologies. And then you have a very big, very small subtitle, The Future is Now. Now I'm a bit confused. Is it now, or is it in 15, 20 years that this is going to be brought out? If you go into the entire thing, you find a number of irritating statements. This is kind of the second page, the little one on top. Bots, Borgs, and humans. Welcome to the future. Bots is short term for nanobots, nanorobots. Borgs is a term coming from Star Wars? No, not Star Wars. Star Trek filming. It's the species that is assimilating other species by turning them into half computer, half being. And humans, I guess they mean themselves, the one who are not affected by those games and rule the entire thing afterwards. And they just name a number of technologies that are going to be used in future wars. And they explicitly say the war of the future is not in between countries. They expect to have a world government. So the war happening on this planet is between the government and the normal people. And this completely different type of war will need completely different weapons. And then they list all those weapons. And there are certain things that are solved for them on nano level, on the level of nanoparticles. Sensor swarms. If you have the nanoparticles in the air, it's a swarm. And it has smart dust. This is something we will find later in the details we found in the environment. Nanotags, things that are placed within the human body to give them opportunity to track you down every single second and read out what you think and what you feel. And something that is not explained in this paper, they call it co-opted insects, whatever this is. I just want to point out at this moment that this is in their paper, because we're going to find things that are going very much to remind us of these words. Other things in this paper that are worth mentioning, weapons that are apparently legal. Yeah, they are talking about weapons that are hidden somewhere in the civil domain. Everybody is dealing with them, everybody is using them, and one of them is the microwave. Microwave is used for mobile phones, it's used for smart meters, it's used for wireless LAN connections, and we're surrounded by microwaves, and they enter our body, and we think this is just a side effect of technical applications. But NASA classifies the microwave as a non-lethal weapon that is apparently legal. And they also name the effect of those weapons. It's behavioral performance decrements, seizures, gross alteration in brain function, 30 to 100% increase in brain flow, in blood flow in the brain, and also lethal effects that come over the time. So this is weapons brought out on mankind that NASA is openly talking about, just projecting it in the paper to the future. And we are falling for this. We think it's something clever to have a mobile on your head half of the day. What they also have, and this is something that refers to Kara's work, is explosive microdust that can be intelligently moved through the air to certain areas. You can up-concentrate it and form an explosive lens. And it can also go intentionally into human beings to kill them from inside. They say that it's clever enough, the system, to go into underground facilities with the dust, with the explosive dust, to access people who are hiding down there. So this is basically this NASA document that is giving kind of abstract picture what could be airborne in the future, or maybe, because the future is now, could be airborne already today. The next possibility to find out what is happening is to talk to whistleblowers. And there are not many whistleblowers around who really reveal essential facts. We have people like WikiLeaks, what's his name? Julian Assange. If you look who his lawyer is, it's the same lawyer that is serving the Rothschild family. And he's got massive attention by the state media. It was like building up a hero, you know. He's fucking 2 blonde Scandinavian girls. What a nice guy, you know. And then he's everybody's heroes, and then he's allowed to talk about certain things. And if you exactly look at the things he put into public, somehow it was serving the interests of the people in power. Now we have the other guy from the United States, the NASA guy, Snowden. What does he do? He's telling us that the intelligence community is listening to phone calls. This is something I know from the 1920s, that this is what the people do. And here and there he's dropping some things, but it's not actually the thing that is published on mainstream media. But mainstream media is carrying him, and Putin is offering him asylum. Well, I think, okay, I'm revealing other things, and nobody ever offered me asylum, and not a single newspaper is printing my truth. So there must be something wrong about these people. But sometimes you get whistleblowers who don't get public attention. And they deliver papers, and those papers are kind of interesting. There's one paper I want to mention that is handed around in Germany because it's written in German. And the guy was the technical director of an institute that was working on smart dust. And he suffered from cancer, and he had a kind of, 3-4 months to live before the cancer would kill him. And he regretted the things he did during his life. He realized that the money he got for it was not really worth anything, and that the things he did were not really friendly, and he basically put part of the technical concept on paper, gave enough information to make it possible to prove that it exists. And what he described basically was based on, maybe this is something this is not for this audience, this is something that is going to the intelligence community that for sure is going to listen to this lecture as well. The name of the project is Rabe Neu in German. Translated it would be Raven New, so that you know that we know what you do. And the guy revealed a few things about this project that even the people in the project do not know. And this is the message that is now going to the intelligence community, because you should know what is wrong about this project. So what he did, he's talking about genetic engineering. And before I would like to mention a few things that he mentioned, I would like to give you an overview about the possibilities in genetic engineering that are publicly known. Not to everybody, but it is public domain. So in genetic engineering, you can create DNA, which is the full genetic information that, like it is in the cell, and you can split this thing into half and have kind of half of the structure, only one side of it, the spiral, and this is RNA. And in genetic engineering, it is very clever to use RNA because it has the full functionality, but it doesn't spoil the next generation. So this is something they really like to work on, because you can manipulate without destroying and without risking the future. If you look at DNA and RNA, there are a number of different functions to it. One function is that these fragments of RNA, DNA produce light of certain qualities. This is connected, it's called optogenetics, the entire field of research. And it is the teaching about how the genetics produce biophotons and produce the light body of a being. This is kind of the blueprint that is controlling the building up of forms, the morphogenetic field that is giving us the structure we are. So this is all done by this DNA. And if you synthesize DNA, this is done by printing today. You write down the code you want to produce, and then this is going into a DNA or RNA printing machine. So you can define every single base pair of the structure and print it out. So what they do is, one of the fields is optogenetics, to invent and produce little fragments of RNA, DNA that produce light. The second thing is this, and the second natural function of DNA is to produce substances. These parts of the DNA are producing RNA, the RNA is producing proteins, and the proteins start to build up the matter that the body is built out of. And also, like healing substances and poisons can be produced by cells. And this is one function embedded in a certain span of this DNA. So this is something they say, there's medicine, for example, artemisinin. It's very, very expensive to extract it from plants. So they just extract the little portion of the genetic information that is doing this substance and insert it into some microbes, and then they can create artemisinin in big amounts. This is medicine, how that works. So we have light-producing things and we have substance-producing things. And then there's a new field of research. They realized that the base pairs can be mounted into a chain in a way that functions like a computer, like a logical element. And this is if you visualize this, it's like the old method with telephones, when you were dialing with sound. Every base pair has a resonance frequency. It's somewhere in the terahertz range. And if you hit the right frequency, it is opening, like a light conducting unit. And if you have a chain of these base pairs that react on different frequencies, you need a sequence of sounds to open all the fragments to make the entire thing conductive. So it goes like do 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 do, and then the next part of the genetic thing is activated to either produce light or to produce poison. And this is something beautiful out of their view of the world, because if you bring this RNA or DNA into the human body, you can kind of take a radio signal and activate it from outside to produce any substance you want or to produce any light you want. Light is emotion, light is thought, light is everything. Everything we sense as experience of ourselves. And a substance can do everything with us. It can poison us slowly, it can kill us immediately. And this is controllable by radio frequencies without risking that it is triggered without anyone to want it being triggered. And the guy said, actually, we know that this is dangerous to bring this out, so that was in the papers, so we introduced deactivation code, like a line of sounds that is completely taking the system out, and so that it cannot be abused by other entities. This is what he said. And he said this is airborne since 2003 in Europe. And he said that the second war, the last war in Iraq, was only done to test the system. It was the only real reason for the war. This is what he wanted to tell us, or from my point of view, the important stuff. Then he said some things aside that I counted to be very, very important. I don't think he did. He said they spent half a year and $10 billion to optimize the cluster topology. And this is something that I guess says nothing to anyone here, but if you're into the topic, if it's like having a virus and you want to bring the virus into a human being to have him infected with this, cluster topology is of no interest. You need to think about cluster topologies if you want to have this RNA or DNA clusters carry intelligence, carry soul, carry an artificial life form. Then it makes sense. And if you picture this, we are infected with this RNA, and the RNA is forming a cluster of 1 millimeter distances around us. And a cluster like this is able to carry a computer program or an artificial, non-physical structure or being. This structure can hoover through the field, but it also can hoover into us. And this structure knows how to access the light production, and it knows how to access the production of poisons. And it also carries intelligence in itself and has the ability to make decisions. This is something that is just implied by the fact that he said we needed to optimize cluster topology. It's a little bit far out, it's a little bit speculation within this, but it gives me a kind of triggering moment when I listen to the word smart dust. Yeah? I get the feeling that this somehow is related to this capability of these optimized cluster topology to carry intelligence and to make its own decisions, if you want so. So this basically is just by looking at the spots where these people are among themselves and listening to some people who spoke out before they died. And the thing now I want to mention, this is the address to the intelligence community. I'm a hardcore scientist, but I really appreciate the possibilities that lie in the spiritual world. And I had so many open questions to this whistleblower that I decided to attend a lady that can talk to people who are dead. And I didn't inform her at all about the topic or about the questions I had. I just asked her, can you see if the soul is willing to appear in a session? And he immediately was there, and he immediately started to talk to her. She didn't even know about the topic. She didn't know my questions. I just told her I would like to have that guy in front of me. And he immediately started to talk through her, and he said, this is alien technology. It is not human technology. And we have been fooled. There is no deactivation code. It doesn't exist. It's just a big scam that they kind of offered to us to let us think that we could control the system. But this is alien technology, and it is not controllable anymore through us. And this is the thing I would like the intelligence community to know. That they're sitting on a big scam, and they are not controlling the system. They believe they do, but they are not. Okay. This to the whistleblowing. And now we come to the things that we really, really, really can see in the lab. And if you go one step back to the chemical analysis, the elements you find. On one hand, you have this type of fingerprint. You find barium, strontium, titanium, and aluminum. Wherever plants die, these are the metals that can be found in, let's say, a slight overdose, more than nature should have in it. If you now check toxicology, it's not even close to the amount of heavy metals nature can take without suffering. If you look back at acid rain times, 1,000 times more heavy metals were soluted within the soil, entering the plant system. If you look back at industrial revolution, where we didn't have filters, burning coal like hell. You know, the times when London was buried under heavy smoke. We had much more, 1,000 times more heavy metals in the system than today. And nothing serious happened. So at that point, we had to start looking at optical analysis, microscope analysis of particles that we found in the rain, which is difficult because you need to take thousands of photos and samples to be lucky to have one sample that is giving you a pure fraction of one component. If you have the entire mixture, you see nothing. And so the things I'm going to show now basically are based on the work of a guy in Germany who spent 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 6 hours a day in front of a microscope to find out what is in the rain. And one component is a piezoelectric nanocrystal. This is kind of a pure sample of the thing. You can see it has some kind of magnetism that makes the little particles join each other like magnets, which is one aspect of this piezoelectric properties. And the most amazing thing, if you look it up, piezoelectric properties could be expected with the barium strontium titanate, which is kind of the fingerprint, barium, titanium, strontium that we are looking for. There's no aluminum in it, but 3 of the elements are contained in this piezoelectric crystal, and we can see that this is a extreme interesting crystal because this is now a raindrop dried on a piece of glass, put under the microscope, and when you remove the top layer and then come with your finger close to the drop or just breathe on top of it, you will see certain effects appearing, and I'm going to show this to you. This is just a slight change in air temperature and infrared radiation from a human body. So we have highly transparent nanoparticles. They have a refraction that is 4 times higher than the one of diamonds. That if you look it up on Wikipedia, you can read there that they are valid for scalar applications, that they can be used in applications utilizing time reverse field structures. It is a set of physics that is not in the public domain. It's scalar physics. But even in Wikipedia, it is mentioned as one of the particles that has the ability to handle and process scalar waves. Let's put it this way. Maybe it's the easiest. This is the reason for the plant death, because the crystal is highly transparent, but it absorbs UV light. At 260 nanometer wavelength, it is 100% opaque, absorbing UV signals. And this is exactly the frequency where the plants are processing the cell division impulse. Cell division occurs if a UV biophoton is hitting a cell. This is kind of the trigger to tell the cell, please divide into 2. And if you have these particles within the plant tissue, you absorb all these cell division signals and the plant stops growing. This is actually the thing that caused mad cow disease in the 80s. If you look exactly at the medical research concerning mad cow disease, you find that there are 3 reasons to get this disease. A lack of copper within the body, too much mercury in the body, and these nanocrystals. And what happens then is that the mercury is stripping the nervous system, destroying the protective layers on the nerves. The copper, the lack of copper in the body makes the single nerves dissolve into chain parts. It's a protein, a prion, and a copper, protein, prion, copper. If you suck out the copper, it falls into pieces. This is how they can diagnose TSE, by measuring these protein, prion particles. And then something very interesting happens. These protein prion things try to rebuild the nervous system. It is a self-healing process of the body. But if you don't have copper, you cannot rebuild the nervous system. So the body is taking the next heavy metals it can access, and this is barium and strontium. So it starts building a nervous system that is based on protein prion barium. And this is kind of an antenna for electromagnetic fields. So you are rebuilding a nervous system that is sensitive on electromagnetic fields. And not only that the nerve itself becomes sensitive, also the barium-strontium titanate nanocrystals, they display barium and strontium on their surface from the crystalline structure, and the new built nerves kind of grow onto the crystal. So what you get is a new connecting point for the nervous system that is piezoelectric. And whenever this is receiving a signal, it's firing electrons. So you have a direct access to the nervous system of the human being. This is one nanobot that you can find in the literature. Nobody knows that it is 100% identical with TSE, with the mad cow disease, and with the Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease. So this particle. It's you can see if you look into the military domain, they use it for radar range enhancement, for turning the sky into optical lenses and optical mirror setup. You call it horizontal drift plasma antennas and columnar focal lenses, so that they can play with electromagnetic signals and radar signals by turning the entire air, the particulate plasma they bring out, into a controllable technical unit to direct and redirect all sorts of signals. This is part of the rocket field in the military domain. If you want to destroy a Russian rocket approaching London, you just calculate the path, and then you activate the plasma and heat up the plasma to 10,000 degrees. And then the rocket is melting in the air and exploding. This is the rocket shield we have. And this needs to be sprayed out over the entire territory of Europe to have it everywhere. So this is the military domain, but as you see, some of the aspects of this particulate plasma are connected to diseases and to attempts to get access to the nervous system of humans. So this is the second agenda that appears on the monitor, which is not about military technology, but already about controlling the civil population of countries by accessing their nervous system to introduce signals. The second one, aluminum and manganese oxide. By the way, barium strontium titanate is produced in industrial spray pyrolysis at 750 to 600 degree flame temperature, which is identical with the flame temperature within normal jet engines. Aluminum oxide is also produced by spray pyrolysis by temperatures of 1700 degrees. This is afterburner technology. And afterburner technology in the military domain is utilizing aluminum fuel. So the aluminum is already contained inside the fuel. If you look at those particles, this is how they look like under the microscope. The particle form is called a whisker. It looks like a star, and it has this special ability to attract electrons and to hold them. So this is the function of these particulate plasma in the military domain. The barium strontium titanate can be activated to spit out electrons, and the aluminum oxide is carrying them for a long time. Just to show that this is what we have on daily basis in the environmental monitoring, both those two nanocrystals. This is also connected to a medical problem, especially if it is the low temperature form. Then you don't use aluminum, you use manganese, create manganese oxide. This is causing symptoms that are 100% identical with the influenza virus. And especially during the winter month, you find lots of this in the air, when all the people run to the doctor because they think they're getting a flu and they want to be vaccinated. I know in Germany they sold 20 million vaccine units last year. And the funny thing is, if you ask them, how do you know that people have a flu, it's only going via the symptoms. We had 6 people examined on molecular level to find out what kind of flu virus caused the disease. 6 people in this entire season in Germany, and from there they make statistics. So basically this is sprayed hysteria, and it has nothing to do with the virus, and running to the doctors to get vaccinated is suicide. Okay, the next thing that you can find in environmental monitoring are Morgellons. Yeah, if you look at the things the vaccination is containing, starting with mercury, this is pure poison. Starting with chelates that pull out copper from your body, you start realizing that there's a plan behind it. Yeah. We know all this about the TSE scandal because of one guy called Purdy. He was a farmer in Great Britain that had a biological run farm. And he refused mandatory vaccination for his animals. And none of his cattle had TSE, not a single one, just because he refused the vaccination. And this was at the moment when he woke up. And 10 months later, he died of brain cancer. Just to refer to the list of microwave weapons and their application. Okay, in the NASA presentation, we had the nanotags that are apparently there to track down people, to find out where they are and what they think. Um, the first public, nice, detailed public description was in the book of Cara St. Louis Farelli, The Sun Thief, where she says that there are hollow fibers sprayed, self-replicating hollow fibers that are there to kind of read out the light fingerprint of your DNA, transform it into an electromagnetic radio signal that is detectable via satellite and ground stations. This is what she found out by analyzing information dealt with the chemtrail communities in the United States. She never mentioned the name Morgellons in her book, but if you look at these Morgellons, who had heard about the Morgellons disease? Half of you, okay. Let's just have a look at them. Nice creatures. This is a German tomato that got some German rain on top of itself.
Is that real time?
This is real time, yes. Now watch the Morgellon, what he does. He loves us. He's getting excited and he's trying to get close. I don't know exactly what they react on, maybe on infrared radiation. So these are basically, it's mycelium of a certain type of fungus. And this fungus is, first, if you want to look at it, it's airborne. It's not a single fiber here and there. It is glowing under UV light. So if you take a UV lamp at night, you can see those fibers airborne. And there are billions of them. Not every night, but every now and then. You can see them fly around. And these fibers, this fungus, is infecting the human body. And with 95% or 99% of the people, nothing special happens. They're just embedded somewhere, and your biology is keeping the fungus population low in your body. They just function as a plasmonic antenna to send out a signal, but you don't get sick from it. You don't get ill. No visible symptoms. So we would guess 100% of the population in Europe is infected. It's not a big deal. It's not dangerous, as long as the body can handle these things. Some of the people cannot handle it. And then the mycelium is starting to grow within the body and starting to multiply. And at a certain point, they are extracted via the skin. And you can see that they have this ability to collect colors. You have blue Morgellons and you have red Morgellons. And nobody knows where these colors come from because they are of technical origin. It's not a natural substance. So you can see them when the skin is opening. You can see them under the microscope if you make a blood analysis. You can see that the blood is infected. And you can let them grow artificially in a petri dish. And if you look at them, you see they're a little bit more complex than a simple fungus. They have kind of organs inside. They have little red stem cells of an unknown species that are self-replicating as well. And apparently they produce other structure. This looks like a sporing body. It's like the unit where the mycelium at a certain point is forming a mushroom, a fruiting body. And then from the fruiting body you would expect the spores for the next generation, if this is a mushroom, if this is a fungus. So this seems to be the containment for the spores, because if you put this into the petri dish, you can see the next generation growing. And other things you find, now it's getting fringe, it's really getting fringe, is fragments of insect skin being extracted from a Morgellon victim. So something makes these, something from this disease is making insect parts or insects grow within the human body. Did I say co-opted insects when we had this NASA paper? We're getting there. To understand what this is all about, at first sight this is a disease that should be cured. We worked on finding a remedy to cure Morgellons disease. It's easy. You don't even need to fight the Morgellons, you just need to re-establish a healthy environment within the human body. Take out the acids, take out the heavy metals, cure the function of the liver that is irritated by mercury and that is irritated by a disturbed candida environment. This is due to antibiotics. So this goes, in the medical domain, this goes back to vaccinations, to antibiotics, which is completely disturbing our system. And at the end of the line, the Morgellon is kind of trying to save us from all the poisons that are within us. Save us from the acids, save us from the heavy metals by containing them. This is why the body allows them to grow. So this is actually not a disease that is infecting us with bad intentions. Everybody's infected, but the one who has too much heavy metals in the system will show symptoms because he will allow these fungus to replicate and suck in all these heavy metals. Now, if you want to understand the agenda behind, there was a brave lady at Harvard University that made the chemical analysis of these fibers in the nanolab, and she threw out just a number of chemical formulas. I'm not going to name them. And she also analyzed the single color particles that she found in the air, also the color airborne, that then at a certain point is entering the mycelium after it replicated within the human body. Yeah, so this is coming to the concept of self-assembling nanobots. Self-assembly means you spray the fiber, it is replicating, you spray the color, and within the human body, the color and the fiber is mounting to a working unit. This is what you call self-assembling nanobot. If you just take the chemical formulas of these colors and put them into Google, something really, really funny happened. I found that in Berlin there's a American company that has a kind of daughter in Berlin, and they are holding all the patents, world patents for these colors. And if you look at their website, they're very proud of themselves, serving the medical community with these quantum dot liquids, with these quantum dot colors, and with other lab equipment for mainly transhumanistic research. And if you look into they have a long list of publications of people who bought their stuff and used it in the lab. And whenever a publication was coming out of these labs, they just listed the publication on their home website to just to advertise their own products, basically. And if you look at this, you can find all the things connected to the Morgellons disease. You find like large area self-assembled plasmonic photonic crystals. If you go into this publication, you find these hexagonal forms. And if you look for the function, actually this is a thing that is collecting a radio signal and turning the radio frequency into DNA-readable light impulses within the body. So this is the reading unit. If you look down there, you have photonic crystal fibers. If you look what they do, it's normally they talk about carbon nanotubes filled with these colors, with these quantum dot chemistry. And the function is to collect light processed by the DNA and turn it into a readable signal. Exactly what Cara St. Louis described in her novel. And if you put the two together, this goes beyond the novel. You get a read-write unit. I can take one person, make him angry, read out his anger, digitize it, put it on an antenna, and address 100 people that are not angry. And if they have this biology within their system, they will feel exactly the same experience of anger that I read out from the single person. So what do I need? Do I need an Arabic Spring? Easy. Just introduce some anger to the system. Yeah, so this is basically the possibilities that lie within a read-write unit, like a tape recorder. Record the human experience, the overall human experience of a human, and you can tell by the colors what this includes. Blue is the light that we process for thinking, and red is the light we process for sexuality. So they control our egos, they control our minds, and they control our sexuality. And if anyone has doubts if this is really online, the system, there's another Morgellon victim in the United States. She just calls herself Jan. And she had one of these hexagonal photonic plasmonic crystals coming out of her skin here. And she put it under the microscope and caught it while working. So this was the first view on the particulate. It's not perfectly shaped in the hexagonal form, but you can see at least the angles at certain points. And this thing is controlled by microwave. Now there are a few more aspects of this Morgellon disease that are a little bit strange. Morgellon victims have this sensation of insects crawling through their body. It's sometimes the disease is called delusional parasitosis. And the doctors say this is pure madness, and normally what they give is psychopharmaca. I guess to get the people quiet. But this is an experience all of them share. And one thing that is irritating me, you have these little red stem cells. And if you look at the family of the Morgellon fungus, he's a close relative to certain myco-insecticides. And they have also this property. They are trained to kill insects. It's for agro-business. So what they do, they attack, let's say, a fly. They eat the fly from inside, and then they assimilate the DNA of the fly and form the fruiting body in form of the fly, and make the eyes of the fly, or the artificial fly, of the pseudomorphic fly, glow with exactly this type of artificial light created by a fungus. And this is attracting other flies to get